Hello, good morning and welcome to another episode of WhiteDetails. It's a beautiful, crisp, very cold actually, Monday morning, and this week I was meant to be on a customer's car, but then on Friday, the weekend, even with a deposit in place, a booking deposit, I've lost the job for unforeseen circumstances, customer's end. So today, or the next couple of days, rather than pulling a car in to the diary, I have my own car to tackle. There is a long awaited update of the WD-SV, the WhiteDetails support vehicle, and the recent comment here on the XFS Sport Brake First Wash, the new daily episode. Would like to see an updated video of this estate, assuming you still have it. Interior paint correction, wheels refurbished. Have you upgraded anything? Now, sadly, as those that follow WhiteDetails over on Instagram may have seen, may know, the Jag has been sold. It has been replaced. I'll get onto that and more. And what it has been replaced by is soon to roll around the corner. Yep, of course, it's a BMW. And I am much happy with the choice now. Unfortunately, it's the same colour as the last. It's almost identical to the last touring, in fact. But that and more coming up. In this episode, we're gonna prep the car, wash it, prep it, do a quick polish to the front end, because the front end is to receive PPF, paint protection film, on the bonnet, the bumper, the wings, the headlights, the mirrors, the wing mirrors, and the B-pillars. So that and more coming up in this episode, and I'm gonna talk to you through the wash. Welcome to the first wash of the 335D Touring. Previous car was a 330 rear drive. This is a 335D twin turbo version, X drive. What do I need? Calipers, tyres. As you may be able to see from the water behaviour, it may look like I've been over this once before already, because there's various forms of protection. Just spotted there's some on the wheels as well, but actually I haven't touched this yet. This is the first wash, so you're going to find out what I find out. You'll see what I see as we get to it. Whatever the protection in place is, it was courtesy of Mr. John, the previous owner of the car, and I have to say I actually complimented John when viewing the car on how well prepped and clean the car was. I actually was very impressed. Quite the contrast to how the Jag was presented. If you've watched the XFS first wash episode, or the window rubbers and the roof rail and anywhere that it was green, it was disgusting, and that was supposedly a pride and joy car. XFS portfolio, very well spec'd. The long and short of it is, it was a nice car, but it was boring and pretty dull to drive. In the end, I did about 2,500 miles in the car, and it was enough for me to miss the BMW. Now, this isn't the first time I have done this. I went from an E91 320D manual 3 Series Touring into a V60 R design Volvo. Now, Not the most logical replacement for the 3 Series, but I wanted a change, fancied something different. The R design, Rebel Blue, Polestar software. Good looking car, if I'm honest, but similar to the XF, doesn't drive like a BMW. So apologies to those that were looking forward to the updates on the Jag. It was a bit of a project, actually. I went to see the car knowing that 4 wheels needed refurbishing, that bumpers needed repainting, but there was more to it than met the eye. And unfortunately, once I brought it home after the test drive, that it perhaps wasn't for me. So I did the mileage, 2,000 miles or so, just to sort of make up my mind. And yeah, she went for sale. So I should have perhaps said by now as well that this isn't a wheels off detail for now. That I'll pick up on later on. With the rescheduling of the diary, I've just got a small window of time to do a few bits, and my priority is paint protection film all over here. So what do we know about the car? I have had it 4 weeks. 4 or 5 weeks. Not a fan of these plates. They are the resin sort of gel raised registrations, so they're going to be swapped out this week. Looks a lot nicer without it on, I have to say. So I saw it. It's a very clean car. As I say, John has spent many hours tidying it up for my viewing. What have I done so far? I have changed the mirror caps. These are the original gloss black factory M Sport mirrors. It did have M styling mirrors, like they were M3 looking mirrors, which I wasn't a fan of, so I switched them out, as you can see. Switched them back to, luckily John kept a hold of the originals. I have then been to have the M Performance front splitter and side skirt extensions installed. My last pre-LCI, this is a 2018 car, which is the LCR model. My grey pre-LCI had both the splitter, extensions and the decals down on the side skirt. I've chosen not to go down that route this time. The splitter, courtesy of Kits UK, fantastic service. I have to say though, I think, apologies guys, this will be, oh there we go, that will be coming off. Kits UK based in Pontefract in the outskirts, a very good price to have the splitter and the side skirt installed, and it's a proper job on the fitting as well. It's actually been riveted and professionally installed as opposed to Tiger Seal and adhesive. So I've changed the mirrors, I've had the splitter extensions installed. Gonna buy a new badge, which is that. There's a couple of chips, new registration plates. There are some subtle modifications on the car. You may have noticed already, it sits front X drive, it sits quite low. The car is sat on IBAC springs, lowering springs. But then the rear end, we have the M Performance BMW smoked rear clusters, which I'm not too sure on actually. I think I will end up changing them for just LCI red rear clusters, perhaps with the bodywork being grey and the lights predominantly being grey as well. I mean, they're very sought after and they're very expensive, but for me, I think they bring a bit of an intention to the car that I'm not looking for. So change the light clusters, and then we have a back box delete. So we have a twin exit single pipe either side, which are pretty ginormous, I have to say. I do like the twin exit as opposed to 2 on one side. That is like a 340i petrol, but I will likely in time reduce the size of the pipe work. However, they're not too obvious, they're not too shouty, because they are hard to spot in the first place. Registration needs to come off. So as we can see, plenty of beading, plenty of protection. Buffer trails and the gloss black mirror there, some squiggly lines. Polishing marks in the mirror cap. But everywhere, albeit I haven't washed it in 4 or 5 weeks because I've not had a chance, this is my first wash. Everywhere is impressively clean, which is great to see. Oh, it's got a bash guard here as well, which previous owner had a dog, and this area you'll see later is all scratched up, And I do wonder if it's been scratched, then that's gone on top to hide the worst of it, as opposed to protect it from the start. BMW load liner. Whoa. So I'm not sure what I'm doing about that yet. But then this is perhaps one of the reasons I bought the car, because I loved the interior combination, the spec. I've got all sorts of lighting issues and shadows going on at the minute, so we'll look at this in greater detail later. And the spec, no electric memory seats, but we'll come on to that. You've seen already it has the bigger M Performance brakes, which my pre-LCI didn't have. It has the panoramic sunroof. It has heads-up display. Armoured Garden. The small nav in the middle, though, it hasn't got Pro Nav. So, pano roof, heads-up display, the colour of the interior in the first place, the generic sort of specs of the car. To not list the electric memory seats, they are heated but not electric. Hello. To not list the electric memory seats or the Pro Nav, it's an unusual one. But the Pro Nav can be retrofitted, so in the coming months, it's pretty pricey. That will be something I plan to do. I don't know what this protection on the car is, but it's going to have to come off. So I think that's as much of an introduction to the car as we need for now. What else have I done? It's got 4 new Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres all around as well, which is nice. And, we'll come back to this, it had a full tank of diesel, which I was most impressed with at the time of seeing it. However, there's more to be said on that. So I've waffled on enough for an introduction. So door shuts, boot, engine bay surround, start the wash, get it inside, decontaminate it with the clay bar, and then start some polishing here, 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 and finally here for now. Rocking the old Details Bible t-shirt. You've seen this process now a million times before. You're going to go ahead and rinse it all off, snow foam it, 2 bucket wash, take the tar, deposits off the car, dry the discs, rinse it off again, go inside. So I'll see you inside. Let's start behind there. Boop. It's worth picking the camera up for. Nice little cluster of mud sat behind the mirror. You missed that in the wash, but then you blow the vehicle dry and all that is gonna spread on the surrounding areas. And even worse if you pick it up in the polishing process, because then you're contaminated. Ah, missed a bit, John. I'm kidding. Clay bar during the decontamination phase, that's just after the bonnet. As I say, overall the car is very clean, but this is a process you want to be doing regardless if you're doing paint correction, coatings, or indeed PPF. And so important if you are doing either bonded contaminants stuck to the paint, not necessarily washing off, they haven't washed off, or not necessarily going to polish off. Not many tar deposits on the car, but I can feel there is some roughness to this, as seen by the clay bar. Plenty of pickup from the upper surfaces. Somebody missed some tar deposits. Rear glass. Black streaks are evidence of tar. Roger that. Fold the clay to a clean new section. I've got 2 pieces of clay in rotation. The first one, or the second one, is in the bucket of boiling water to keep it soft. As I say, it's all stuff that needs to come off the surface. Now, it could be tar deposits like on the rear glass there, which I missed, but ideally that's done beforehand, before the clay bar in the chemical decontamination process, which was the orange bottle you saw outside. But otherwise it's bonded surface contamination, industrial fallout, rail dust, pollen, tree sap, and in fact tree sap and PPF. In fact, there was a Glacier White Audi A5. A couple of months back now, the vehicle had been PPF'd elsewhere already by another outfit, and I was polishing the rest of the paintwork, doing coatings and correction. But every piece of green tape you can see on the picture is identifying a problem or contamination underneath the PPF. Quite clearly the Audi hadn't been prepped, or, well, it hadn't been prepped. It wasn't properly done before the PPF went down. And then, as you can see again, yellow clumps of sap, pollen, tree sap, all across the panels. I actually got myself in a bit of trouble sharing that picture on the internet. Again, if you follow WhiteDetails over on Instagram, you will get the daily behind the scenes and updates. Fully decontaminated, and now it's fully blown dry. Big boy blow R Pro. Oh, by the way, everybody who took part in the 100k free detail competition, the last video that was aired, thank you. It's been greatly received and much appreciated for everyone's kind messages and support. It's clear to see, or at least it was to me, I don't think I picked it up on camera, but whatever the protection applied to the paint, it was pretty mild, on the basis that my chemical tar remover, Water Smart Tarless, which is something I've used for years, the water behaviour afterwards had vanished. So it's going to get a polish anyway, but any protection, sealants, waxes, coatings need to be removed before PPF is applied, and fresh coatings go down elsewhere. What we need now is neat IPA, isopropanol alcohol. We're going to blitz around the paint and then have a good paint inspection on the entire vehicle. This will be new to you and to me. And I have seen a few areas already during this process so far but I'm sure there's more to come. Bird etchings. Starting then, I suppose, with the obvious stuff, because mineral grey, a little bit forgiving for the camera, but B-pillars, oh yeah. As always, a delicate area gets battered during wash processes and contact from people getting out the car, wrapping the hand around there, closing the door. That over time leaves scratches. Gloss mirror cap, rotary hologramming here. They've been buffed over before. I might do an interesting test with PPF on both the mirrors, some deeper scratches on the corner, on the mirrors and the pillars, to see what PPF over the top of a scratch panel actually hides. In fact, I'll do that before we start polishing the front end. 3 or 4 monstrous bird etchings on the bonnet. I had seen these outside anyway. There's one here. There's one here. Yep. And then some splattering down there. It's probably all been done at the same time. And mist, unfortunately, which has now etched the paint. Should be able to polish that out. If not, sand it down slightly. Where's my light? Here. Another thing that I was very pleased to see upon viewing the car was that it all looked to be straight. There was no obvious signs that I saw at that time anyway that had been repainted, no mismatching colour panels, no overspray or sander marks or rough edges. We may have spotted some overspray, or at least what I think it is, up on the roof, but for now the battery light is flashing. I need to change the battery. Up on the roof then there is a film, or a smothering of I don't know what yet, to be honest. I'm sure this will all remove with some polishing. It's weird, it stops on the spoiler. The spotlight there hasn't got the same marks around. Either water spots or some sort of overspray. Rotary polish marks again, front bumper. The worst scratch on the car I found so far is here. Highlighted quite nicely when the light is down. When it's like that, you can barely see it, but if the light comes down over the top, there are a bunch, 1, 2, 3, 4. My plan is to PPF and PPF the door. So I need to prep this, and it does actually catch and nail and do what I can to them areas. The light rotary holograms continue, whether or not it's been elsewhere or this was something that the previous owner had taken on themselves, I don't know. What I did see was some compound and bottles of polish in the garage, so they've certainly got the tools. Oh no, edge the door requiring some good touch-ups. Offside mirror cap, rotary mopping marks left again. Really is a difficult colour to capture the defects well on camera, but driver's door handle, scratching over the top. Rotary marks continue on the rear bumper. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts would be about the lights. I am swaying towards changing them, but I think if it's a different colour, tanzanite blue or whatever it may be, they would sit in better, but the grey, I prefer to be clean and red. Previous outline of the badge 335D. Not well if that said 320D. Whoops, that should cut away, no problem. Scratching on the offside corner there, hadn't seen them before. This protector on top of the bumper, something else has been there before. The marks continue to roughly there, unless they're just scratches that have missed paint because of the dog. You can see claw marks, paw marks from where the dog's jumped in. Probably should have booked the rear bumper and the front bumper in for paint, but let's see what we can do first. A few chips that are new to me. Didn't know they were there. There's a series of chips there. Usual 50,000 miles on the front end. Deal with these and do what I can before the film goes down. These are new. Chips, chips, chips. Nasty chip. Nasty chip. Might try and get a partial roof covering up there, as well as the A-pillars to protect that from future chips. Nice bit of compound. Usual sort of marks, scuffing, scratches in places. It is a complete different car to what I saw in terms of the Jaguar. That really was in fact that was a couple of years older, but very similar mileage. And that was not in the best of shapes. So the BM, it's a good platform, it's a good foundation. It's a good foundation. I'm looking forward to doing my own little bit now to make it, to put my own stamp on it. The area to be polished before the PPF, I'm going to go with the Lake Country Light Orange Light microfiber cutting pads. I'm going to use these as a bit of a one step alongside a medium coarse polish or compound. The obvious areas are the bird bombs behind me on the bonnet and one or two of the scratched areas. I'll need to step up to a stronger combination. In fact, that might as well be done first. Take that back off. And then work around the front end of the car and the pillars and the mirrors, the PPF, to be PPF'd areas with the orange pad, doing a single cut. Take it outside, rinse it off, come back inside and then do some work on the plot zone. Single cut or a single polish with the orange Lake Country Light cutting pad, and there's loads more clarity there now, which is decent. That'll do for the polishing on the bonnet. The etchings, I'm struggling to even see where they were, so that is a result as well. That combination now is going to be on the, oh, I forgot to do the test piece of PPF. I'll do that. Steady. That combination on the wings, bumper, headlight, mirrors, door, side skirt, top of the roof, A-pillar, mirrors. Interested to see the results of that one myself, but it needs to dry out fully to get all the moisture and to look as pretty as possible. So we'll come back to that later. Well, as the title suggests of the video, this is a two-part series. This is part one, coming to an end. I was originally going to do this job as a two-part documentary sort of, but then now I'll be fine condense it into one. But actually, all the time I do these big episodes, the 40, 50, 60-minute plus case studies, it's doing me no favors in terms of growth for the channel. really that wants to be split up into multiple sections, multiple parts. But I, as a viewer, I would certainly prefer just to sit down, press play, and be taken through the story start to finish, rather than part 1, part 2, part 3. I'm getting penalised by YouTube, as I say, stunting the growth of the channel. And also, we're busy people, so a lot of people just sit down and find 50 minutes or an hour to watch someone clean a car. Can be quite challenging. So in part 2, we pick up with the polishing process to the front end, the PPF, the plotter, the nesting, the installation of the film itself. I have to say it's gone extremely well. It's been quite enjoyable. Breath of fresh air, actually. The PPF that went over the wing mirror and the B pillars, over the scratched areas, the results of that you will find in part 2 as well. Be sure to be subscribed to the channel for notifications when the second episode comes out. It won't be long, it will be within the week. And sadly, as it happens, I ran out of time, so I need to be wrapped up and finalised today. And I've got the roof, the rear end, tailgate, the bumper, the rear quarter, the side skirts, the rear door, still to perform a 2-stage correction on, and do the priming and do the coatings. And today that won't happen. So we'll be back, we'll have a third episode, part 3, where we will be able to assess the PPF condition, whenever that may be, a weekend's job perhaps, to do the rest of the polishing and of course the Modesta coatings. All I'm doing now with the infrared curing lamps, usually that's for the coatings, I'm using the heat source to fully heal the film. During application there could be some tooling marks left behind, which you will very much see in part 2. So all of the PPF is just being baked. And then finally, the Pro Detail podcast, featured in the magazine in issue 13. 2 guests, no, 2 idiots and a guest. I was the 3rd idiot. I joined the guys a couple of months ago for an episode on the podcast. There is a link in the video description down below, should you wish to check that out. So sadly, that's your lot. Eyes out for part 2. Find WhiteDetails over on Instagram for daily behind the scenes and updates. Like the video if you've enjoyed. I do certainly like the car, love the car, very happy, very pleased with the purchase. I do have to get a few niggly mechanical issues rectified, which is why I haven't got the time this week actually to get the rest of the correction completed, because tomorrow the car's booked in at the garage. Take care, bye for now.